Attack on Titan feels like one of the most kinetic pieces of storytelling I've ever seen. The way this anime has evolved from a bombastic action series about a boy slaying monsters to a thrilling mystery chock full of twists and turns to an exceptionally profound character study matched with even deeper lore and an enriching world, it's truly a feat to behold. In watching this final season, I've really wondered about what it'll be like to revisit Attack on Titan once the whole series is over. Knowing what we know now about who these characters are, the world they live in, and the devastating events to come, to revisit that first season might be a breakneck shift in tone. Prior to season 4, I ended up rewatching the anime more than a couple times. Once on my own, once with my mom, once with my friends, and a bit more with my aunt. We're big anime fans in the Kato household, if you couldn't tell. And every time you show someone Attack on Titan, there are specific patterns you start to pick up on through their first viewing. I endlessly praise Hajime Isayama for his masterful storytelling because no matter who I've shown the first episode to, the rhythm and patterns of that story are received in the exact same way. That is evidence to me of a master in his craft. Someone who can so carefully construct a piece of art to beautifully convey the exact intent to as wide-reaching an audience as possible. Isayama has perfected tone, and I believe that is at the core of how Attack on Titan has evolved so drastically over the course of its story. Despite feeling so thoroughly unified as one product, Attack on Titan weaves a complex tale that only in hindsight reveals itself as completely dynamic and changing. My name is Hoodie, this is Kato, and today I want to discuss the slow despair of Attack on Titan. Today's video is brought to you by my upcoming webcomic, The King's Way. For many, basketball is a fun game they played as a kid. For some, it's a weekly event to bet money on. But for the few with enough talent, drive, and need, basketball is an opportunity. In their final year as high school athletes, Kingsley Wei and Manu Khan must overcome the demanding worlds of family, school, and romance while trying not to lose their love for the sport along the way. Will they defy the odds and become great, or crumble under the weight of expectations? The King's Way is a sports drama that blends the exhilarating athletics of anime like Slam Dunk and Kuroko no Basket with the complex relationships of a seinen love story. Follow me on Twitter, @hoodie_writes to get updates about its release, or if you're watching this in the future, check out the link in the description to read it now. The first few episodes of Attack on Titan are tragic to say the least. It's a story that wastes no time in introducing chaos and slaughter the likes even a disaster movie couldn't boast. The anime immediately attempts to pull on the viewer's heartstrings with shots of innocent villagers being crushed under the shrapnel of a massive wall being torn to shreds, and the ultimate gut punch of punctuation in the death of Eren Yeager's mom. But these aren't the moments that make a fan of Attack on Titan. Carla Yeager's death is sad and might just get your eyes watering, but it's the actions of Hannes that carry a more noteworthy emotional weight in my opinion. You can watch my video called I Was Wrong About Attack on Titan for a more thorough breakdown of that sequence. But there's more to just this first episode than tragedy and heartbreak. In fact, in all of my experiences showing this anime to others, neither of those moments are the ones that pull the most reaction. The moment that I've noticed never fails to get a response is this brief shot where a gang of bullies stare down Eren without fear, only to buckle and retreat at a hilariously intense Mikasa appearing right behind him. For those familiar with theater, you know that at the core of all storytelling is tragedy and comedy. While many associate the former with Attack on Titan, I think it's important to recognize its mastery of both, and how having comedy, even amongst tragedy, presents a richer and more engrossing piece of fiction. Gallows humor refers to a subsection of comedy that plays on irony in particularly dark and harrowing moments. The gallow refers to the wood structure used for hanging criminals throughout history. The relevance and popularity of this type of comedy speak to, in my opinion, a basic human desire. That even in our worst moments, human beings crave levity. That whether it be the trenches of warfare, a rehab center for addicts, or in the moments just before death, human beings crave a release of tension, often in the form of jokes. Stemming from that, we get a basic principle of storytelling, that even in the saddest and most tragic of stories, we still need moments of release. Moments that break the tension of intense drama and offer viewers that brief shot of levity. Attack on Titan opens in a gruesome massacre. A Titan lurks above the wall, and with it comes nothing but death and destruction. It shatters an unbreakable defense and slaughters innocent people left and right. But it is emotionally crucial that the tone of that moment not be carried throughout the entire episode, and instead we give ourselves the opportunity to have moments like that one with Mikasa. An absolutely hilarious shot that gives viewers a bit of relaxation and, perhaps more importantly, creates a more authentic world. There are more moments like this than most people might be willing to give credit for. Rarely do you see someone hyper-focus on Isayama's comedic chops, but without them, this story would be unbearable. And yet, it's evident that it's there based on how many memes exist within fan fan communities or how easily the character archetypes fit into a fairly popular gag spin-off. In my opinion, there's one character that represents Attack on Titan's comedic importance more than anyone else. It's not the sadistic humor of Hanji or the contrasting deadpan of Levi. It's not the idiocy of Eren Yeager or the hopeless romantics of our #1 Mikasa fanboy. When it comes to humor in Attack on Titan, the biggest beacon of levity lived and died with Sasha Brauss. From the moment we met her, Sasha was a complete buffoon in a world of edge and grit. Child soldiers lined up by the dozen to enlist in the military, knowing they could die, all for the hopes of reclaiming land taken from them by monstrous figures standing dozens of meters high. People like Eren embodied a death wish that was all too tragic for a teenage boy. And here comes this girl with a stolen potato ready to charm her way into our hearts. Everything about Sasha was hilarious. Not only was she a complete dumbass, but she brought the dumbass out of other characters. A figure who we first met screaming in anguish over the pointless loss of his brothers was now arguing over a half-eaten potato. She formed an iconic duo with Connie that would become a fan-favorite pair despite barely getting any screen time. Sasha was the light in a dark, dark story, and it doesn't surprise me in the least that, for that reason, she had to be the one who died in Season 4. When I think of Season 4 of Attack on Titan, particularly this last half, the one word I feel best describes its entire tone is despair. Attack on Titan can almost feel like a chore sometimes with just how grueling and intense it can be, and yet I think that is so clearly by design. You can track this evolution through the general trend of the anime openings. Very few anime have as many iconic OPs as Attack on Titan. I had stopped watching anime back before 2013 and had only a couple of friends that still were, but despite how divorced I was from this medium, all it took was one girl to come to high school wearing a Scout Regiment sweater, playing her music just a little too loud before suddenly the Attack on Titan OP had wormed its way into my brain to plant hold and stick around forever. That first OP is a giant smack in the face. It's immediately powerful with an epic orchestra pumping up your heart as Wall Maria gets blown through by an invasion of titanic proportions. Our young main characters stand in red among a bloody battlefield. The camera places itself low, giving this intense, badass energy as we're forced to look up to these fledgling soldiers in respect. We cut to shots of Titans, destroying the society our characters grew up in. A fleet of soldiers stand proud, prepared to defend their homes before throwing up a salute that thousands of weebs will learn to love and recreate at every convention under the sun. The music continues as our soldiers take flight. There's a sense of redemption in the air. The animation bumps to an 11 as we swing from building to building, slaying the evil monsters that stole our livelihood. Fuck yes. Then we get to the second OP. We're no longer kids getting ready to enlist. We've planted ourselves firmly in our ranks, ready to take on any mission given to us. The music is an anthem. We start off by soaring through these beautiful spacious skies. White birds lead us through the fields of our country, the land we must defend. There's this beautiful frame of Armin soaked in blood, yet without a waver as his eyes face forward, steeled with determination. And what more needs to be said about its third OP that isn't incredibly obvious? Thousands of young viewers plant their hands firmly to their chest, pledging allegiance alongside their favorite characters, chanting Sasageyo. We then move to Red Swan, a melancholic piano over our main trio as we flash between their childhoods in a march to battle. An orphan Levi twirls a pocket knife. Erwin looks on through the window at a father stolen from him. Where the past OPs were all hype anthems to drum up propagandic support for our main characters becoming child soldiers, Red Swan is a recontextualization as the tragic and heartbreaking reality it truly is. But with the truth revealed and an enemy in sight, My War drops us straight into the trenches. It's not hype, but intensity. It's not heroes going off to save the day, but platoons of real soldiers marching to war. Statues are blown to smithereens. There are no illusions as to what this is. No propaganda, just raw, intense bloodshed. And to cap it all off, we get The Rumbling, our final OP of the series. To me, the first 20 seconds of this OP represent one thing: doom. We then blend the themes of our past two OPs with melancholic lyrics that express Eren's difficult journey and the horrible burden placed on a child's shoulders, interwoven with these intense, guttural screams over the people he once called allies, now nothing more than tombstones in a field. Each OP represents a different tone that this section of Attack on Titan is embracing. At first, it's borderline propaganda. The story wants for us to cheer as Eren and his crew genocide a race of monsters. He vows to eradicate each and every Titan, and the story wants you to want that for him. But as we learn more and more about Titans, the story stops being about monster hunting and instead becomes a sorrowful look at historical tragedy and true war crimes. And where we are now, we're in a mix of these things. Rage and heartbreak, destruction and tears. On the horizon is utter doom. In every word spoken, in sequence played out, nothing but despair with almost no moments of levity. When Isayama killed off Sasha, I believe he was signaling to the audience an incoming tone shift. In one action, he spelled out just how intense these next months of the story would be. The main source of comedic relief in this anime was killed off, and rarely have we gotten humorous moments since. That's not to say that none of Season 4 has ever had a good meme, but if you were to compare the joke density from before to now, I think you would find a stark difference. It's unnoticeable at first, but it slowly becomes more apparent over time. The audience sinks deeper and deeper into the intensity of each subsequent moment. It's a dangerous move because without that levity, you risk viewers growing exhausted. But if any story could afford that risk, it's Attack on Titan. It's spent so many years building up this intrigue and engagement. It knows its audience is on the hook and is more than comfortable suspending us without a lifeline. And the payoff to that risk is an unmatched level of heightened stakes. Everything feels more important. Everything feels more drastic and dangerous. As it should. The culmination of a long-running series like Attack on Titan should feel this way. I've only been a fan of Attack on Titan for like a year, but in that short span, I've had the pleasure of showing this anime to a ton of people and rewatching it each time. And every time I watch it again, from that very first episode, I find new things to appreciate about the story and Hajime Isayama as a writer. I truly believe that few living storytellers are as skillful and precise with their writing as he is. And even fewer display such a mastery of tone and the audience understanding necessary to construct a story as complex and dynamic as Attack on Titan. Thank you for watching. Before I go, I just want to give a quick shout out to all of the incredible patrons over at patreon.com/KatoYT. We're super active in our patron Discord server, occasionally throwing some late night anime and movie watch parties, so if that's something you're interested in, pledge just a single dollar to get an invite. I also write and produce a webcomic called Romeo, Juliet, and Juliet, which you can read over on Webtoon Canvas. You can follow the channel's Twitter at KatoBeyond or my personal one at Hoodie_writes. Links to everything will be in the description. Again, my name is Hoodie Song, this is Kato, and thank you for watching.